So USCBC's member survey has shown that IP has been one of the top 10 concerns of member companies for the last decade. Counterfeiting, piracy, IP infringement are long-term problems in China, but China is the second largest economy in the world, and US companies want to do business there. So what I'd like to do today is kind of take a step back from the IP issues that are at the forefront of the trade negotiations and talk a little bit more about how China's IP system evolved over the last only 40 years, really, to try to provide some context for where we are today and hopefully some insight as to where China might be going. So there are three broad phases of China's IP reform, system reform. The first was before China joined the WTO, China had to make a lot of IP reforms in order to gain access to to join the multilateral trading system and become a WTO member. So this included developing and revising several IP laws like the copyright, patent, trademark laws, as well as signing on to several international IP forum like the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. So the second phase after China joined the WTO and had already made all these reforms was characterized by a period of rapid economic growth. This phase, China wasn't really super focused on IP enforcement because the government was more concerned with domestic issues, maintaining stability, and bringing their population out of poverty. So enforcement of IP kind of fell by the wayside, and this is a period when China kind of became known as the factory of the world, producing low quality, low value add goods and a lot of counterfeits as well. So a couple examples of the type of IP infringement that was going on was the manufacture of counterfeit apparel, branded apparel, that sometimes was actually produced in the same factories that made branded goods, but just without authorization. Another example was fake consumer electronics, which were reverse engineered from legitimate products, but so they might look the same on the outside, but not necessarily function at the same level. There's also rampant piracy of content, books, videos, DVDs, software as well. And the more recent development of e-commerce and online sales channels has really only compounded this by making it a lot easier for content infringement and selling of counterfeit goods. This has all kind of given way to a third phase where I would say that the internal demand for IP enforcement and the external pressures are more aligned in that as China's economy grew, so did Chinese private brands. And China's government had an incentive to move away from made in China to created in China. And over the last decade or so, longer, there's been a rise of really innovative Chinese brands like Alibaba, Tencent, that want IP and protections as well for the technologies and the goods that they're developing. At the same time, Chinese consumers also want stronger enforcement. There have been a series of consumer health and safety scandals that, as a result of counterfeit goods, that have really helped to elevate the importance of IP or counterfeit enforcement in China. And those include things like the infant milk formula scandal and a more recent vaccine safety scandal. So now that we're in this period of alignment and China is actually making a lot of reforms, we've seen they're currently revising the patent law, and the trademark law was recently revised. We expect copyright law to come out soon. It seems that China's IP development is pointing in the right direction. Enforcement is always another question, how these laws will be enforced. But in general, the development of China's IP system is moving in a positive direction.